Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lives podcast. This is Bryan, joined by my co host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk to you about what does marriage first look like?
Before we hop all the way into the episode, we'd just like to say thank you for stopping by. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been rocking with us for a while, we appreciate it. If you would like to go deeper in this conversation or ask us any questions, you can search Marriage is Tougher on any social media platform or go to marriageistoffer.com, hit the contact form, and leave a message there. With that contact form, if you'd like to be a guest, you can leave us your name and what topic you like to talk about, and we can connect with you and get you on the pod. We really appreciate you guys spending your time with us. And let's get into the show.
All right. So marriage first, man. My mind actually goes a bunch of different places when it's thinking about this topic. And it's like, all right, do my friends come first? Does my job come first? Obviously, does my marriage come first? And I guess this is in like, what scenario am I presently in, right? And then I think about, does my marriage come first before the children? Which I know we've mentioned before a little bit. Does my marriage come first when I'm hurt? When I'm feeling when I'm in my feelings, when I'm hurt, if my wife did something that upset me, or so I think there's a lot of ways this conversation can go. What are your initial thoughts?
Man, my initial thoughts are my words could say something that my actions don't comply with. And I was convicted in the moment of even thinking about it, as you were saying, does my marriage come first before all these things?
Yeah,
And it also can be fluid, right? Like in the moment, what do you need to come first, right?
right.
And is there an undercurrent? The undercurrent should be my marriage comes first and all those things
Right,
that you said,
right.
right? While you're engaging as a parent, while you're engaging as, whatever your profession is, your marriage should come first. But that's not always the case for me. I won't say
Same.
for anyone else. I'll just speak for me. Um, so it was that tough reminder of how that works, because really, if your kids grow up and go away, your marriage still comes first. If you're laid off from your job, you're still in your marriage, right?
Right.
If, friends, you fall out with all your friends, you're still married. Even if you fall out with your wife, you're still married.
Hey,
So it's like, okay, why am I putting different things first? Beyond the situational aspect, right?
yep.
But why am I not putting my marriage first in there? But also, then it's like, the one thing you didn't say was, does my marriage come before God?
Yeah, because that's a non-negotiable for me. That's why I
Right.
didn't mention it. But I like that you did, because I thought about it. I thought about saying it. For me, that's a non-negotiable. My marriage doesn't exist without God.
Right. Um, and just playing out what I was saying in the beginning, do your actions bear that out?
Hey,
Who do you spend more time with? Who do you spend more time thinking about? Who do you spend more time processing things with?
right.
Is it with God or is it with your wife?
Yeah,
Right. And if it's your wife, then you say, and not you, the proverbial you, right?
right.
Say that God is first, but you still put your wife before him. So that was all that was swirling in my head as I was listening to you make a list of the good things that you know, could be put before. And I was like, man, my actions say where I put my wife and not my words.
I
And
got
so
you.
that
Yeah.
was a tough one for me to walk through.
Yeah. And the funny thing I find about this topic is the trap of life, right? Now let's just talk about work in general. For me personally, and in our counseling session yesterday, I was actually admitting that work for me is sometimes an escape from my home life, right? So that's one thing. But let's say it's a season where you're trying to progress your career. It becomes so much easier to justify this needs to come first, and your spouse might even agree, but that should really never be the case, right? Because if you allow that to be the case, I think you run the risk of, all right, I'm going to do some things in my career I wouldn't normally do because of where our mental space is right now. As in, let's say we need a pay increase. If that becomes your, paramount priority, then you might give ground where you normally wouldn't, right? Oh, well, it's going to be X amount of dollars more per year. So I guess I'll commute 4 hours a day.
Right.
And maybe you don't fully weigh the risk or weigh the cost of that time at home. Uh, you know, all that windshield time and the gas spent and whether or not it becomes a net positive or not. You just see the the gross amount and you're like, oh man, that feels good. Right.
Right.
So something like that, like I said, both of you could be on board that, all right, we have to make this work, or you know but I think what we don't often do is run it through the lens of how does this affect our marriage. So I always try to be careful of that. Most things that I do in life, I run through the lens of how is this going to affect my marriage? How is this going to affect my wife? How is this going to affect my kids? Because I think while those things are technically separate, right, they come under the marriage umbrella.
Right.
I've talked a lot.
Now, I agree. I think that is kind of getting to the point of what we're saying. Like, what does marriage first mean? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what that means, right? When we talked about the undercurrent, right? That's the filter you put everything through. Like, how is this decision that I'm doing going to affect my marriage, which in turn will affect my family, you know? So
Yep.
I think as long as you're asking that question, you're on the right track as far as putting, I would say maybe that's what we define as marriage first, right? Um, that makes a lot of sense when you say it. Um, or maybe that's the start of what marriage first it means, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Now, this one to me is more important than ever right now. Um, when you are in a disagreement with your wife, right? And let's say it's been extended for a while because I'm sort of in that position right now. Um, does your marriage still come first? Are you still putting your marriage first? Right? Is that still what you're claiming to be your foundation?
Yeah, I mean, if you're still, if what putting your marriage first means is how does whatever affect your marriage and you're working through that, I think so. If you compartmentalize and just stop thinking about that, then no.
Right, right, right.
Right? So the the status of whether you're in agreement fully or in an argument stage or whatever, I don't think that negates whether you're putting your marriage first if you're
Or at least shouldn't.
right,
I think.
because it's not
Go ahead.
always rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And our counselor yesterday was talking about, if you guys are fighting, arguing, whatever the case may be, um, are y'all still married? Like you said, right? And then on top of that, are you what's the alternative? Are you happy if you decide to shut down? Right, which has largely been my problem. I still struggle with it to this day. Um, but it's like, pick your heart, man. Right. And I'm still working through feeling safe being vulnerable, I think.
mm-hmm,
Right. And so when I get to that space, um, I have to figure out what tools I need to, I guess, move my mind or my mindset to, okay, the marriage still needs to come first. I don't care how upset you are. I don't care, you know, that your body is telling you that you're, oh, you know what, it's fight or flight right now. Um, that woman across from you, you still love. You still care about how she's feeling. You still care about what her, interpretation of whatever it is you're going through is at this moment. Um, are you going to sit here and keep, I want to say it doesn't always feel this way, but ultimately you are continuing to choose to lock down and put your barriers up. Hope that makes sense.
right. It does. It's asking. Really, it's how does my personal preference affect the marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How does my uncomfortability in that situation affect the marriage? If you're thinking like that, right, that's when you're saying choose your hard. Like
Right.
it's easy to be comfortable in my normality of shutting down, but how does that affect the marriage? Right. And then using everything you just said about how I love her. She's, I care for her. We need to do this together, like all those things. But how does me retreating affect the marriage? And I think it's getting to that point faster is
Yes.
helpful, like, because you're going to always go to your go to, but it's how do oh, I'm going to what's comfortable, but not what's profitable. Let me stop. And this is how it affects my marriage. And let me press forward. And that's the tough part.
Oh man, that hit so hard, bro. That hit so hard because I it immediately, you use the word profit. It immediately took me to all the difficult decisions I've made and actions I've taken for the sake of cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like at my old company, changed jobs. One The role that I left on the surface seemed like the more glorified role, but I quickly found out by moving to the other one that it created better cash flow at that time.
Right.
So that was me setting aside my pride for the profitability of my family. That's wow. I mean, just decisions you've had to make in business, right? Letting some customers go because they didn't want to pay the price, not that you just deserve, but that you stated is your floor, right? And this is no longer profitable for me. So it's better to not have this customer than to continue where we are.
Yeah.
I wonder
That's
if there's something in that I can use. And it might be as simple as saying, like, my actions right now are not profitable to this marriage.
yeah, just saying that out loud, right? Saying, how does this might affect my marriage? It's not profitable. However quick you
Yeah.
can get to that, recognizing that you're in it. Because that's the tough part, right? Because sometimes you're already in it. You're either in your feelings, you're in your disappointment, uh you're in your scaredness, you're in your fear, right?
Yeah.
And you don't realize, but once you realize it, it's there. But that could be an hour, a day, a week. And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh crap.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
man.
man. Yeah.
I am seeing that, and it feels to me at this time, am I choosing me or am I choosing her or my marriage?
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the reality. Why, while I might also easily be able to say, man, this is, a really tough time. I'm locking down, like, and I feel it. I'm in it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that, I'm not unaware of how she's feeling. I'm not unaware of what our overall situation is. So I'm not so locked down where I can't respond. My mind is considering what will happen if I say the things that I want to say. And I think that's what stops me. But one, again, like we were saying, it's not profitable for me to do that. And then two, I'm just choosing myself at that point.
Yeah. That is the tough part of it's the lesson that or the test that we constantly have to face, right? Am I
Yeah.
choosing myself or am I choosing my marriage? And it's annoying and it stinks that I have to still go through that test over and over
Yeah.
because sometimes I pass it and I realize it quickly and I'm like, oh, this isn't profitable. And other times I elect to stay in my comfort and decide not to grow or not use the tools and not be open to even step back and ask myself, what is going on here?
Right.
What's going on in me? Taking away the other party. What is happening in me that this is like this? And
Yeah.
then humbly going to my wife and explaining what happened, asking for forgiveness, and truly trying to put something in place that I can recognize it quicker next time.
Yeah.
And that's rough, man. So last weekend I go to the gym. I hurt myself playing basketball, right? And the typical husband, like, not wanting to admit that
Mm.
he hurt himself, don't want to hear anything my wife might say about being too old, trying to play basketball, all that, right? So I'm hiding it. We are hosting a party. So I'm running around and getting stuff, have to go, hurt my knee. and I'm going up and down the stairs trying to grab all these things that we need. And it's, I'm, you know, not going up and down the steps one leg at a time. I'm like one step with one leg, pulling the other leg up, that type of thing. Like, so it's taking double the time, so I'm hiding it, like literally hiding it,
Oh man.
which is no good, first of all.
Right.
Second, we go through the day. I wake up, meat's on fire, whatever. So I'm praying for healing of my knee, right?
Okay.
And in that prayer, I felt like I heard, how could I heal you if you're operating in deception and pride?
Ooh.
Like the root of, like, I can't heal this because you're not operating where you should be. So I had to ask my wife for forgiveness, tell her that, the situation, tell her that my pride got in the way. One, because I got hurt and like I didn't think I should get hurt. Two, I was deceptive by hiding it from her and not just coming through, and that I was operating in fear because I didn't want to hear what she had to say. I didn't, she wasn't going to blow up, but she definitely was going to tell me about myself, and rightly so. Like, I don't know what I should have done, but it's warranted for a reaction, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, what was for the good of my marriage, right? Yeah, I got hurt. It's fine. I wasn't trying to do anything silly. I just have to, it roll with the punches, right? It happens if you're trying to be in the gym or work out and all that stuff. It's a possibility, right? But I didn't want to face the fact that I got hurt, like myself. I was feeding myself rather than feeding the marriage at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. it's I'm thinking about the choices we make. I shared with you, and I'll share with the podcast that I recently decided to stop drinking, and that's in totality, right? Um, and largely the decision was made just to, I guess, be more in tune with my health and make sure I'm making better decisions to, make sure I'm around for as long as I can be, because that's the promise I've made to myself, to God, and to my family. Um, and when you make a decision like that, you begin to become hyper aware of the triggers that would make you want to have a drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, I find that advertisements work really well. I find that alcohol does what it does. It helps shut your brain off. So if I'm having a hard day, you'll often hear people say like, "Oh man, it was a tough day. I just want to have a beer or something and relax." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, while that works, it's not healthy. So if I've made that decision that I'm no longer going to drink alcohol, that's a choice I have to make, even when those feelings come up. Like, man, and believe me, this week was a terrible week for me, work wise. So I thought about it. I'm like, man, if I have one or two, it's not really hurting anything. But again, it does have an effect on your body, no matter how little you drink. And then, secondly, it is hurting something because I made a commitment now that I'm no longer going to drink. So, how do I relate that to what we're talking about here? If I'm making the commitment that my marriage is always going to come first, then I need to become hyper aware of what those triggers are that make me want to put me first.
Whoa.
And then I need to deal with it and continue to choose to put my marriage first.
What? That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that one is as easy as the other, right? Because have not struggled much putting the drink down. But I struggle to this day after nearly 8 years of marriage of not retreating and not locking down and continually choosing to put my wife and or marriage before myself.
That was such a good analogy on how to walk that out. Because if you've ever done something hard, you have to kind of figure out how not to. If you ever stop doing something for the profit of something else, you understand that it takes a plan and a lot of like contingency things. Like, okay, if this happens, then this, if this and this. But I don't know if we necessarily do that within our marriage. Hmm. That's a good thought.
Yeah, man. So and then part two to this is I'm thinking immediately, man, I really have to sit down and flush that out. And, our next counseling session, I will probably talk about that. But secondarily, I need to speak to my wife about it as well. Um, because I think having her input of, hey, where are we typically when you see those signs that I'm about to check out? Right. Um, and just run that against what I might feel is happening, or if I have solid or concrete evidence of, yeah, this happens after X. How do we avoid X?
Right.
Right. Or if X is unavoidable, like to your point, how do we more quickly get to position Y? And, even our counselor was saying, sometimes you just have to put down a disagreement for a little while. But she was like, it's strange to put a number to it, but she's like, in my opinion, arguments shouldn't last any longer than 10 minutes. So in order for that to happen, you have to be very conscious of, you know, choosing to put your marriage first, right? It was like, she's like, you should be able to have a disagreement and then in 10 minutes go and sit down with your family for dinner. Right. And, she mentioned like it could take putting down or revisiting a situation or disagreement, but it shouldn't last any more than 10 minutes. You choose love, choose your marriage. All of the things in the household are going to have to happen anyway, right? So again, choose your heart. Do you want to do all those things with a mean grill on your face or smiling?
That's so good. I mean, it just is. It's the even someone else saying that that's possible is a
Yes.
thing, right? Like thinking like, oh,
That gives life.
that's not even like, was that even an option for us? Like that we can just get through this in 10 minutes? Like never even thought about that, right?
Yeah.
And like she said, putting a time limit, but it is like if that's the goal you're working to, you'll most likely hit that goal more times than you won't, right? And
Right.
there may be one offs that it
Pure
doesn't,
awareness.
right? And that, my friends, is why you go to counseling,
Yes,
to
sir.
just see a different perspective and get tools. That's it.
Yep.
Nothing more, nothing less.
And
Wow.
I'll keep bringing tools to you as I'm learning them, and as my wife and I work through them. I'll let you know what's working for us and what doesn't, because I mean, there's lots of tools out there. It doesn't mean that every single one is going to work for you. So as we figure out what is going to be our best course of action, and just what is effective for us, I'll I'll keep sharing them here. So make sure you're coming back to hear what our progress is, and hopefully it'll encourage you to seek counseling yourself. Because the other thing that we always mention is you don't have to seek counseling just because things are broken. You can do it for maintenance, just to learn some new tools, get a perspective of what may be on the horizon. A lot of times out there, you hear people talk about those milestones of marriage. Right now, we're in that 7 going on 8, and that's a huge milestone for a lot of marriages where things can break down.
Mm-hmm.
So all I can say is we're fighting for us.
That's awesome. That is all you can do, right? That's part of that marriage first mentality, right? How are all these things affecting my marriage, or how will it? And putting things in place to have a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good, man. I shared a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. As we wrap this up, if this had any benefit to you, had any light bulb moments, please let us know. Searching "Marriage is Tougher" on any social media platform, and just hit us up in our DMs. Let us know, or go to marriageistougher.com, hit the contact form, and leave a comment for us. If you'd like to see all of our episodes, you can get that at marriageistougher.com or anywhere you grab your podcasts. We really appreciate you taking your time to spend with us today, and we'll chat with you later.
Peace.